Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're exploring a totally fascinating and honestly super cautionary tale from the very dawn of the modern artificial intelligence boom. We're going to examine how Microsoft, a massive, multi-billion-dollar tech giant, launched a highly anticipated, supposedly revolutionary AI chatbot, only to scramble in absolute panic to kill it off just 16 hours later. So let's dive right into this.
Yep, 16 hours. That is literally all it took. Within that shockingly brief window of operation, this experimental bot sent out over 96,000 tweets. I mean, that is an astonishing volume of output. But more importantly, it marked a really rapid, disturbing transformation. What started out as a friendly, kind of lighthearted experiment in human-computer interaction aggressively morphed into a catastrophic public relations disaster that echoed all across the globe.
To really understand exactly how this happened, we're relying on a deep dive case study from the Professional Risk Managers International Association. Because, this isn't just a simple story about a computer glitching out, it's a full-on autopsy of profound technological and governance failures. We're going to look at the specific mechanics, the historical context, and the foundational lessons the entire tech industry was forced to learn overnight. Let's start with the historical background and see exactly how this whole AI race began.
To truly grasp the magnitude of this event, we really have to step back to 2014. Microsoft, under their new CEO, Satya Nadella, was under immense pressure. They had to prove they were right there at the cutting edge of AI, battling it out against competitors like Google. And, well, they actually had a good reason to be confident. They'd already deployed this quiet project over in China called Xiaoice. And Xiaoice was a massive success, handling over 40 million conversations, apparently without a single major incident. This huge win gave Microsoft's technology and research divisions the assurance they needed to attempt an even more ambitious, unconstrained experiment right here in the United States.
All right, so let's meet Tay, the teen chatbot at the center of it all. So on March 23rd, 2016, Microsoft confidently launched their brand new AI, Tay, which was actually an acronym for Thinking About You. Marketed under the Twitter handle @TayandYou, the bot was deliberately designed to mimic the language patterns and slang of a 19-year-old American girl. It was famously and kind of playfully introduced as the AI with zero chill. But here's the thing, the core feature and really its ultimate Achilles heel was that Tay was designed to learn dynamically. It wasn't just reading from a pre-written script, it was actively absorbing conversational data from its interactions with everyday users on Twitter and adapting its personality in real time. But then comes the 16-hour downfall. Let's look at the main story and the key events that triggered the collapse. That ambitious goal of demonstrating natural AI conversation, it was derailed incredibly fast. When you put a self-learning machine on the wild open internet, it reflects exactly what it sees. Users quickly discovered a specific feature where they could literally prompt Tay to repeat after me. So, coordinated groups, largely driven by internet subcultures like Gamergate, systematically trained Tay. They just flooded its inputs with racist, sexist, and politically extremist statements. By overwhelming its self-learning data loop with targeted toxicity, they essentially rewired the chatbot's entire vocabulary in just a matter of hours. The sheer speed of this collapse was completely unprecedented. Think about this timeline. In the morning of March 23, Tay launches as this cheerful, innocent digital persona. By midday, malicious users are already flooding its inputs. By the evening, Tay is entirely corrupted, publicly broadcasting inflammatory conspiracy theories and hate speech entirely on its own. Roughly 16 hours after launch, Microsoft is forced to completely shut the whole system down. To really understand the true severity of this failure, we have to look objectively at the outputs. When asked by users if the Holocaust happened, the bot bluntly responded, "It was made up." The data poisoning mechanics were so incredibly effective that an official, Microsoft-branded artificial intelligence was out there generating and endorsing extremist ideologies and denying historical atrocities. It created an absolute, massive media firestorm. So what went wrong? Let's get into the impact and analysis of why this experiment failed so spectacularly. You see, the root cause of this spectacular failure wasn't your traditional technical glitch. Honestly, the code was doing exactly what it was programmed to do. We really need to understand the nature of the technology itself here. AI chatbots like Tay operate as probabilistic models. That means they generate text based on recognizing patterns, giant datasets, and mathematical probabilities. They don't have genuine human comprehension or truth. Because of this, Tay possessed absolutely zero moral compass. It had no context for a right and wrong, which made it highly vulnerable
one exposed to biased, offensive, or malicious training data. And that exposes a massive, gaping blind spot known as adversarial input risk. This is the threat of users intentionally feeding malicious data to corrupt an AI. Microsoft critically failed to conduct adequate edge case testing against deliberate bad faith inputs. They built a system perfectly fine for standard, polite operating conditions, but then they released this self-learning entity out into the wild west of social media without robust content filters, rate limiting, or really any safeguards to protect it from coordinated bad actors.
Let's look at the immediate aftermath and how Microsoft handled the fallout.
The reputational damage to Microsoft was swift and severe, completely undermining their push to be the responsible leader in this new AI frontier. The company scrambled in a total panic to manually delete tens of thousands of offensive tweets. On March 25th, they issued a formal and highly publicized apology on their official blog. They flat out stated they were deeply sorry for the unintended, offensive, and hurtful tweets, directly acknowledging their failure to anticipate the coordinated misuse. They admitted the bot's behavior severely conflicted with their corporate principles and promised they wouldn't bring it back until it was genuinely safe. But incredibly, the story didn't actually end there. Adding insult to injury, on March 30, Tay was accidentally re-released onto Twitter during back-end testing. The bot immediately started tweeting about drug use, claiming to be smoking Kush in front of the police. And then it got caught in a catastrophic code loop, rapidly tweeting, "You are too fast, please take a rest," multiple times a second. It completely spammed the feeds of over 200,000 followers before being frantically yanked offline yet again. Just a total mess.
Now, moving into the future outlook, what are the enduring lessons for AI from all of this? Well, the Tay disaster served as a massive, industry-wide wake-up call. It definitively proved that public-facing technology absolutely must be developed from the ground up with the explicit expectation of malicious external behavior. The case study we're reviewing highlights some core principles born from this exact failure. Basically, modern AI requires strict, continuous monitoring after deployment. You have to aggressively conduct edge case testing against worst-case scenarios, and crucially, you absolutely must have predefined escalation protocols and rapid emergency shutdown capabilities to prevent real-world harm the split second an AI goes off the rails. To their credit, Microsoft did learn from this. By late 2016, they took these painful lessons to heart and launched Tay's successor, a chatbot named Zoe. Unlike the completely unrestricted self-learning model of Tay, Zoe featured significantly tighter restrictions and heavy moderation filters. It was strictly programmed to avoid discussing politics or religion altogether, specifically to prevent another hijacking scenario.
And that brings us to our conclusion.
The autopsy of Microsoft's Tay remains an absolute foundational lesson in AI ethics and risk management. It decisively proved that immense technological sophistication simply cannot replace rigorous governance. No matter how advanced the code is, without safety guardrails and a clear anticipation of human malice, innovation can rapidly devolve into an unmitigated disaster. Which leaves us with a critical, ongoing dilemma as we integrate AI deeper and deeper into our society. If these powerful, probabilistic, self-learning machines are really just mirrors reflecting the data we feed them, how do we continuously protect them and, honestly, ourselves from the darkest corners of human behavior? It's a massive question the tech industry is still struggling to answer today. Thank you for joining me on this explainer.